Thank you very much. When Sauka and Slijis are older representatives, well, it sounded not very nice for me. Well, time flies, I must say. It does fly. And, well, I have to acknowledge, long time ago, when we had a state history, national history exam, I was very much afraid the students will have to answer the questions about Impressionism and Mikalojus Konstantinas Čiurlionis. And I think that you understand why. Well, it seemed I think to everybody that they are well aware of Čiurlionis' art. And but it was not the case. So now I will move to my presentation. Well, I will not go into detail. I will not dive deep into the seas. I will consider visual material. Simply, I want to let you just hear certain things which are important for me. Sometimes it seems that Čiurlionis is everywhere. That there is too much of reiteration, interpretation of Čiurlionis' works. That maybe this interpretation is not extensive. That it is superficial, but I was very much was astonished that even museum workers or experts do not recognize the most important works of Mikalojus Konstantinas Čiurlionis. There are certain parallels, but there is no mentioning that they are based on Čiurlionis. I was astonished. For example, Kazys Šimonis composition. Kazys Šimonis composition, third decade. Well, there is no information that this is a parallel to Čiurlionis, that the motive of the most famous and reproduced work of Čiurlionis, the offering. And if we speak about paintings, it was created in 1990, and there is not a single word of Čiurlionis. And when we start analyzing it, we can see the offering by Čiurlionis everywhere. So Vladas Didžiokas, Juozas Tallat Kelpša portrait. And we can see in the corner that Čiurlionis offering, it was Čiurlionis offering reproduction. These are floor forts. And it was interpreted in many places, but museum workers somehow do not recognize this piece of work. Kazys Šimonis tried to understand Čiurlionis' structure of Čiurlionis' composition, and even I think that he managed to do that. Sometimes, artists didn't wait for exhibitions, and the artists themselves just recalled the anniversaries of birth or death. And in 1961, to commemorate the 50th anniversary of death of Čiurlionis, Adomas Varnas painted Čiurlionis' portrait, again following the motive of the chrestomatic painting of the offering by Čiurlionis. Maybe the same motive could be accompanied in a differently, but even portraying of Čiurlionis might be very, very simple, and it doesn't matter who is the author. Vladas Drėma, who is really a very famous creator, or Vytautas Kazimieras Jonynas. I will not go again into detail. Gerardas Bagdonavičius, who also painted Čiurlionis, they interpret the same documentary photograph. And in this context, I even don't want to show you now far from nice Čiurlionis. And sometimes I even think that don't touch our genius of art and music. Sometimes folk artists, they are really very sincere when they express their love and acknowledgement. For example, Danieliauskienė works, but here, Mika Šileiskis, Čiurlionis in Mika Šileiskis' work. I will not show more, and according the same again the same documentary photograph. When we speak about the portraits, these portraits were inspired by the exhibition, and I will not go into detail and will not analyze this exhibition. Only one extensive portrait was created, Kaknevičiūtė's composition, Goblin, fantastic creation. And now let's look at the portraits. Even the portraitist, a very experienced portraitist, Vytautas, you can see Čiurlionis painting, but when you know wonderful portraits of other artists by Vytautas, you might realize that observation of a human being does help a portraitist, and it's very difficult when an artist has passed away. So Ciplijauskas created Valerija Čiurlionytė Karužienės portraits. Now, Vincas Kisarauskas, to my mind, he didn't manage to paint Čiurlionis, neither Čiurlionis nor Kisarauskas, something in the middle. It is kind of reflected, but there is no result. But when Kisarauskas, he created a very interesting cycle, Estampus and Ex Libris. Here we can identify this creation of 1975 as a modern creation. Studied letters, analyzed personalities. Everybody who've been writing about Čiurlionis mentioned Gytis Vaitkūnas, Bruveris, other famous nice quotes. But this is a project where Kisarauskas summarizes his own knowing of Čiurlionis, and this is correlated with the current times because this project is dedicated to Čiurlionis, the analysis of Čiurlionis, irrespective of the form. So wonderful piece of work by Kisarauskas. And as we can see, he managed to solve this problem, or to create a wonderful piece of art. 17 papers, the cycle dedicated to Čiurlionis. Other works. Bronė Jacevičiūtė, The Road Home, very strange painting. We can see that Čiurlionis' genius paralyzes the artist. But as you can see, the same documentary photograph is reflected. And now I return back to Švėgžda. Švėgžda's father must have been a very good artist, but his career was interrupted by the Soviet occupation. He's our patriot. He went to the forest, left 3 small children, and he was Adolfas Ramanauskas Vanagas, one of the in the group of Ramanauskas Vanagas, and he's depicted here as a rock singer, not a province teacher. Very wonderful, beautiful picture of father. He was portrayed as a student by Viktoras Petravičius, student Švėgžda's portrait. And there is no genre of the acknowledgement. So when a teacher paints student, when a student becomes teacher and student paints teacher, so this is kind of exchange, and we have many cases. Gudaitis painted Švėgžda and vice versa. And now let's move to the portrait where Čiurlionis, dedicated to Čiurlionis. The portrait of the study times, and we can see the road Švėgžda was moving, following Gogenic period, and the brush as a weapon, the pipe in the right portrait, the year 1966, canvas, oil, and the portrait of the engineers. Again, the portrait painted in 1971, paperboard, tempera, oil, painted in 1973, and one of the most beautiful autoportraits, half naked men, one of few portraits where the human being is highlighted, and you see the brush as a weapon, as a gun. And what is strange for me, even Švėgžda's friends, Viktoras Liutkus namely, who wrote about the studies of autoportrait, he was not interested in Švėgžda's autoportraits, although to my mind his portraits are very interesting phenomena in Lithuanian art. And now welcoming Čiurlionis, congratulating Čiurlionis. In 1975, Arvydas Šaltenis told me to take this painting from the walls of the exhibition. He said, please don't, 3 times he asked me to take off this painting. Liutkus, Laima Laučkaitė, who is a very experienced art expert, he asked me, do you think that this piece of art is good? Yes, I said it is good, because we have nothing of the kind in Lithuanian art. If we analyze this painting in Lithuanian culture, it is very important in Lithuanian culture to look at the painting from the bottom to the top. Here we can see Algimantas with jeans, with the flowers, and another. And what is important, he's very sincere, not with false respect towards Čiurlionis. In Lithuanian art, I think we don't have the examples where indirect student is respected. There are examples in the 19th century, but in Lithuania, no. So now we Švėgžda somewhere above, and Čiurlionis is standing on the earth, kind of the opposition. Čiurlionis standing and Švėgžda hanging high in the sky. And this painting becomes even more interesting when we see the birth of this painting. So in principle, it is kind of a modern project, contemporary project. Švėgžda is Švėgžda. And on the right side, we see Algirdas Šeškus. in Švėgžda's home who just acts Čiurlionis. They are thinking, they play, they improvise. How could this painting with Čiurlionis could be creating? And the reception of this painting is very controversial because during the anniversary of Čiurlionis, it seemed to many people that Švėgžda does not respect Čiurlionis, and there were people who thought that he made Čiurlionis equal to Švėgžda. And there were many discussions, disputes in the press of discussions about this painting, but it struck the mind of art critics. So here we see Švėgžda family and fantastic portrait photograph. Yes, Švėgžda wore jeans. He was a very fashionable art teacher, and he was very close to students. It is not the place to speak today about the charisma of Švėgžda, about his aura. And Švėgžda, as Stasys Kuzma, who worked in the art academy in Vilnius, they worked in the academy for a very short period. It's a very important moment, but it doesn't matter how long they taught, but what traces they left in the academy. That's what matters. So Švėgžda, fashionable, modern painter, and again, but he's a very deep author. This portrait is one of the most wonderful to my mind. Here, the situation was taken which we often are confronting, where we see the painting through the glass. And when we look into the painting, we usually see ourselves. And here we see the reflection of Švėgžda in the glass, a wonderful dialogue. Wonderful autoportrait, very artistic, very inventive, even funny, kind of funny. And I didn't mention one more important thing. Congratulating Čiurlionis has also a very important dose of humor. And finally, several sense examples. Well, imagine painter Fantin Latour, who doesn't need money to live. He paints just for the sake of painting. He doesn't need to earn money for living. He's painting for his pleasure, and he thought that he wanted to commemorate his friends. And these friends, as you can see, at the Delacroix painting, the Delacroix genius. And the actors are very important in this painting. On the right side, Charles Baudelaire, standing Whistler. On the left side, Whistler, and on the right, Manet. Very nice painting, painted in 1864, canvas oil, but at the same time, it is adoration of Manet at the same time, because afterwards he painted Olympia and Breakfast on the Grass. Yes, I understood, Rasa. I will try not to take much of your time. So now, Edouard Manet, respect shown to Edouard Manet, the old Spanish paintings influence, and the old Spanish painting. Velasquez, Fantin Latour, even unintentionally, in order to commemorate his friends, He painted very impressive works which are kept in Orsay Museum. He didn't plan that. Nobody planned that. But as you can see, these paintings are very important for us. A workshop in Batignolles. Again, Manet, homage to Manet. 1870, funeral dressed, the people dressed for funeral to respect a person who passed away. Frederick Bazille, who, when he was 29, before his death, he wanted to somehow to embody his workshop, his auto-homage, and he just reflected or depicted his environment, people. He died when he was 29. Literature avant-garde, musical Berlioz, Wagner music, and lovers of Wagner, admirers of Wagner's music.
Ir dar parodau du
Homagean paintings, again respect to Cézanne. And here it is very important to highlight, it is an exceptional case that Cézanne is still alive. Cézanne will die in 1906, and the painting was in 1900.
Žanro, įsivaizduojate, po figūrinės kompozicijos, peizažo.
So again, landscape, respect shown towards landscape. 5 painters. The language of hands is very impressive. And then again, autoportrait, 1985. He always imagined him as guru, but congratulating Čiurlionis was made by a person who was joyful, but afterwards that he's becoming a guru, and he managed, while depicting Čiurlionis' house, to commemorate Čiurlionis by showing the apple trees. But the most wonderful piece of work by Švėgžda is our notebook paintings via graffiti, with the notes, with the remarks, and there is nothing more Čiurlionis-like in Lithuania so far. Švėgžda, while living in Lithuania in Berlin, said, "Oh, if I was healthy, I would run home and leave everything." And usually when he visited Lithuania, you used to go to Druskininkai, met Nedzelski, had interesting conversation, and he's our most famous painter who paid tribute to Čiurlionis and artistically embodied the memory of Čiurlionis. I finished. Thank you, RAMUTę, for a very impressive presentation. A short question. To your mind, well, is there any difference between the creativity as an order, state order, when you celebrate 100th anniversary, and the exhibition which is organized by the painter himself or herself, sincerely reflecting the same object, Čiurlionis in this case? From my experience, I can say, unfortunately, there is no difference. If a person is gifted, and if the circumstances are successful, and Matisse's dance and music were ordered, but these are masterpieces, and this is a masterpiece. The same is with Švėgžda. He was preparing for the 100th anniversary exhibition, but I think that he was the best in this exhibition. And in the examples I didn't show to you, one can see that these are the orders and the painters are expecting, and who is that the committee, maybe the committee will buy these painters. Augustinas Savickas painted a triptych to Krasauskas. Stasys Krasauskas, he is of low quality to my mind. Leonardas Gutauskas and other painters, and all these paintings are in the National Art Museum. More questions to RAMUTė? I'm Akvilė Mažutaitytė. I would like to thank you for the hope you gave to all of us. What hope? What kind of hope? Today, in the current culture, we millennium children like reflections. We like to have these reflections. For example, Žemaitė, our writer, with cigar in her mouth. Other painters. Is there any hope that someday we will have Čiurlionis image which will be attractive from the marketing point of view? Well, it is possible, but I can't imagine who can make this image marketable. Theoretically, yes, it is possible. More questions? Since Švėgžda, a perfect commenter of his creativity, did Švėgžda himself commented his painting congratulating Čiurlionis? A very difficult question. I will try to provide a brief answer. Švėgžda himself, when he was ill, he said accidentally the following words: if it was possible, he would destroy all his early creations, paintings. And his friends, Repšys, this is a fact, Repšys, Šaltenis, his friends, and Liutkus based their future works on the above words by Švėgžda, and they pressed me not to show some early works by Švėgžda. But I was convinced that Švėgžda would like this, because I am convinced that Švėgžda, he died when he was 55. We cannot make him guru from the childhood. We do not know the statements which we could base this or another option. Thank you, dear RAMUTė, for your presentation. My short reply: how did it happen? Why? Why in the after-war period Čiurlionis portrait was painted with this offering motive? When so many graphic works served as the awards for the members of the Art Academy, and both Varnas, maybe Rimša works, they simply embodied in terms of signs related to the motives of Čiurlionis' creativity. Neither, I didn't say that. What I said was that the most popular but photography, documentary photograph, was overused by many painters. That's what I had in mind. What do you think? Would Čiurlionis like Švėgžda's portrait? Čiurlionis' portrait. If Čiurlionis lived longer, he would have liked it.